So there's this keyword myth that you can only have a certain amount of keywords on your page. And what you can find more often than not is that in Google search, there are pages ranking that are all of these rules that are set. And from searching in Google, we can see how Google really understands a page by what is currently ranking from the search term we put in there. So, what we need to do is go to our competition, search our keyword, right? Open up the page, and then right click view source, control F, and then we need to search the keyword and see how many times our competition is using them. And then that's the target we need to beat. We'll take the top 9 pages. We'll do the inspect. We'll do the control F. We'll look at how many times they're using the keyword on page. And then we'll take that and we'll average it out. And then that is the amount of times we need to be using the keyword on our page as well. And we also want to be slightly better than them. So multiply it by an additional 5%, so 1.05, and that's your target. Now, when we go to search in Google and we start seeing all of these different keyword variations, or we're listening to people online about SEO and they talk about the LSI, what are LSI keywords, what are entities. So, what are LSI keywords and entities really? The easiest way to think about it is think about describing your service to somebody. So, if I was a hardwood floor like installer, right, and I came to you and you were another contractor as well, think about the conversation that you and I would be having. Think about how the different words in that conversation that you wouldn't normally have with someone that you were just like talking to about, like, let's say you were at a gas station, or let's just say you were just talking to a buddy that isn't a contractor, right? So you're talking to this buddy that's not a contractor. That conversation that you have with that person is not going to contain what are considered are these LSI keywords, right? You're not going to talk about nails. You're not going to talk about glue. You're not going to talk about LVP, hardwood, tile. You're not going to be talking about subfloor or like installation with your buddy that's not a contractor. Now, when you go to talk to your buddy that is a contractor, those are going to be the terms, the keywords, basically just the words of how you would construct a conversation or how you would talk to your buddy that is a contractor. Basically, LSI keywords are just the words you would use to talk about the topic. Now, why this matters, why LSI keywords, why entities matter, is because what we can come to find is that this is how Google understands a page, right? So Google does not read like how we read. What it does is that it will find these words like flooring, glue, nails, what have you, right? And it will measure the frequency. So every 20 words, this is just to illustrate an example. This isn't exactly how it does. Is every 20 words, how many times do these relational words to flooring appear, right? So if I'm having a conversation with someone that isn't a contractor or doesn't do flooring, then those 20 words from that conversation are not going to have the words that are relational to flooring. And so what Google will go do is, let's say it went through that conversation, those 20 words, right? It's not going to see anything about flooring. But now when it goes and through the conversation I have with that contractor, what it's going to do is it's going to find, oh, nails, flooring, installation, subflooring, right? And it's going to look at the frequency in which those words occur and co-occur. Then not only that, it's going to measure the distance. So the amount of words in between these LSI terms or entities, it's going to measure so it can get a better understanding of what is actually occurring on the page. What is the page about? And so by measuring it, the amount of times a word appears on page in relation or co-occurs with other words, it will then get a better understanding of what exactly your website or that page is about. Google doesn't have context like we do. And so, as a substitute, this is how it comes to understand what your actual page is about and can get confident that your page is about flooring. Now, how to find some of these variations for free is what we can do is go into Google and we can search our keyword. When we search our keyword, Google is going to bold these relevant terms to what we've searched. And from those bolded terms, we can take that Google thinks that those bolded terms are relevant to the search. And so by doing this, it tells us that these are the words that we need on our page. Google doesn't just bold these for fun. It thinks that it's topical or it thinks that it's relevant to the search term we put in. So it's basically for free telling us what we need to be using on our page. Some examples are hardwood, tile install, flooring company, near me. So that's the list, and Google hands it to you for free. Now, these are some more of the keyword variations we need to use on our flooring contractor pages. And these are the amount of times you need to use these keywords or keyword variations on your page. All of this data was taken from Florida. So what I mean by that is we went and searched in different areas, different cities in Florida for flooring contractor. And we took all that data, and this is the amount of times you need to be using these keywords on your page, right? So we need to be using flooring 147 times, floor 50 times, installation 44 times, and then laminate 36. Now, this is another list of those co-occurring words that are on currently ranking pages in Florida. And so what we need to do is we need to work these in naturally. So example is glass tile, right? Metal, family owned, operated, and then we also have got LVP. Now, with these terms, these are the terms that co-occur naturally in conversation. And so these are the LSI keywords we need to be using on our page. So now, entities are basically just the nouns Google expects with the topic you're talking about, right? So, as an example, we've got kitchen, bathroom, shower, tile, you got porcelain tile, glass tile, hardwood, countertops, remodeling. Now, once we have our list of keywords, we need to know where each keyword type goes. So, the exact keyword you're trying to rank for needs to be in your title tag, it needs to be in your H1, and it needs to be in your meta. Then also it needs to be a few times in the body of your content, in the body content of your page. The variations need to be in your headings, your paragraphs, your lists, alt text, and your images. It needs to be everywhere, right? Your LSI words need to be sprinkled naturally throughout the copy. A big ranking factor that can help you is that by putting the keyword in your title, your meta, and a variation, then putting a variation in your H2 and H3 is a big ranking factor, and I highly recommend it. So don't focus on the exact keyword times people tell you. What you need to do is you need to be looking in search to see what is actually currently ranking. The LSI or the entities are the words you would naturally use to describe flooring. Google learns about topics from the words that are commonly used or the words that co-occur frequently in different topics. So what we can do is we can find the variations by searching our term in Google and then looking at the bolded terms, and then those are the terms we need to use on our pages. Next, you need to make sure that we're using those keyword variations on our pages, LSI words and entities across all your pages. Try to get the exact keyword in your title, each one, and then get variations everywhere else.